Uh, I have been given a very interesting topic to speak on, and that's financing at a click. In my last 8-9 years, I have been more oriented towards financing with a tap than a click. My orientation is very heavily on mobile. So my presentation will be very, very broad. I'm not here to give a lecture. Actually, I've come here to interact. I've come here to learn and share some experiences with you. So mine will be an idea to actually give you some key elements to sort out the landscape for you, and maybe 3-4 terms or key elements that you need to take away if you're looking at, if you need to get at financing at a click, or financing with your thumb, or financing with your finger, or fingertip banking. I got involved in this space purely with my passion to work with people at what I like to term as the low-income segments. I'm very passionate about private sector's role in alleviating poverty, because I don't think so governments can alleviate poverty. It is the private sector that creates jobs, and that's a cycle through which even the reference was made earlier today with our speaker about being a job creator. So I view finance and access to finance and inclusion as an essential tool for our citizens or citizens of the globe to step out of poverty. And under that scenario, I got involved into this company called Finaccess that we co-founded with a couple of the Nepalese partners that I have. And under that scenario, then I got deeper into the scape. So I don't necessarily come from a payment landscape, but I began to learn it. And every day I learn, actually, which is every day is a learning experience. So as you can see in the picture, the landscape is very wide. And there are a lot of clouds behind which there's a beautiful view. And you will get to the beautiful view if you understand what exactly you need to address in this aspect of financing at a click, where we are at in Nepal. I'm not going to talk about negatives today. I'm only going to talk about positives, and I'm going to tell you about 3-4 key issues that we should all focus on, okay? So those are the key takeaways I would like to address and try to point out to you. Convergence is a given. We all know that. What our mobile phone can do today is a mixture of so many things right now. It's a music player, it's a camera, it's a biometric device. I mean, you can keep on adding things to it. And that power is available on a simple device or a very powerful device, because mobile phones are so powerful nowadays. If you compared it to when the first time I saw my computer in engineering college, I mean, it filled up half this room. So that power, and actually that mobile phone today is even more powerful than that computer the first time I saw it in my life. I don't know if some of you have ever seen a computer like that. Okay, so convergence is a given. So when you think about any service that you want to talk about and deliver, you have to look into this angle of convergence. That will bring value. I'll give you an example. I think it was about 2008, 2009. I was out on a consulting assignment beyond Dadaldhura in Nepal, in far west Nepal. And there was an evaluation being done by an assistance program provided by the Gates Foundation with regards to providing market input prices to farmers. So these farmers, we were in this cooperative, these farmers had information about the vegetable prices in Kathmandu, in different markets in Nepal. They had even access to a satellite phone. Very powerful, okay? So on that basis, on that day, actually, we met one farmer who got a call from a buyer in Nepalganj to buy his products at the Nepalganj price, not at Dadal Dhura price. And the farmer was very happy. So he went down on the highway, right? And he waited. The buyer did not turn up. So the next day, that vegetable of his had less value or literally no value. Okay, it was a perishable good. So what I mean by convergence is these elements need to come together. Just having information and empowering the farmer by information is not enough. You need to be able to close the loop. Where's the payment instrument attached to it? And if it was today, that loop can be closed, mostly. There are certain challenges that we need to address, and we'll look at that also. The second thing is digitization. That's a given. It is going to happen. It has to happen. It will happen. You can't run away from it. And it is going to be good for all of us. Yes, like Mr. Ajit mentioned earlier, it's a tax we pay. Yes, there will be a paper trail. If you are honest, what's the problem? There's no problem in that. If our money trail gets traced from where it is coming from, where it is going to, it makes business easier, it makes it much more transparent, and it makes central bankers sleep easier. Okay? Coming from the banking side, financial side, who all know what this logo stands for? Can I hear? Okay, it's blockchain. Bitcoin is an application running on blockchain. I think in the future, especially in the financial sector, blockchain is going to have a huge impact, purely because of the security involved in it, the power of having a very shared element of authorization or approval of a transaction is going to have a huge impact. Now, all those three things coming together, especially moving towards blockchain aspects that are coming up in the future, and there are certain companies in Nepal that are already looking at utilizing this in the remittance side, in financial payment side elements, and looking at also banking services side. The key hindrance in adopting all this is going to be the outdated technologies that already exist in our banking system. And whenever you have a system like that, then you have legacy systems. And always legacy systems are a big hurdle to cross. Okay? As an example, in Nepal, we leapfrogged many, many technologies. In Nepal, we went straight to colored television. We went to digital broadcast very early. We went into digital telephony very early. So we have had actually many benefits. It has somehow not been able to be multiplied and the impacts really being benefited to the entire population. The key element to change all this scenario and make the impact and make it here and now come to you with financing at a click will be the APIs. And if with APIs, I actually mean really open APIs. Means that anybody, application program interface is provided to you, any kind of application can be interfaced with any kind of service. This is going to be a key driver in the financial sector in the future, especially in our kind of region. And globally also, you are beginning to see certain disruptions where you are beginning to see where financial services, or what we define as a typical financial service that is delivered by a BFI, banking financial institution, as per the regulatory landscape here in Nepal, may not exist or will become blurred. So what will happen is that because of the open APIs on how payments can be made and what can be transacted, if a bank does not wake up to this reality on how a service can be delivered to its customers, you could find that your bank account could exist at Bank of Kathmandu, but your loan product could be given by an XYZ company. So So how you make that payment is irrelevant. And all these things will all converge together. So I'll give you one simple graphic example of what an open API can do. So if you are an open API, you can actually merge between anything. So if you want to be into the payment service, you can be into that open API, get a payment for it. So all these elements will be a very, very strong driver for you when these kind of open APIs become available. In India, already they are experimenting with open APIs in payment systems because of some key fundamentals. And that's when I'll talk about the challenges in Nepal, in the elements, the landscape that I covered and I ran into, is in Nepal, we don't have a centralized mechanism for identity check. I mean, in India, Nandan, who I was very fortunate to meet very early on when he was in Infosys and Bank of Kathmandu, we decided to be one of their first overseas customers in taking their solution, who got involved with the Aadhaar project. It's a very, very fantastic program in which it's a unique ID. It's got no political aspects to it. It just tells you who you are. And that's what Aadhaar means. What is your Aadhaar? Who am I? That was the genesis of how they decided. Anyway, now banks are plugging into it for their KYC requirements, opening of accounts instantly. So you can open an account on the fly. You don't have to go and verify somewhere else or something like that. They are interconnected. That's very, very powerful. The second thing is there's no centralized payment gateway. There are positives with the NCHL that has come about in Nepal, and we are looking at ASBA, and fortunately, the central bank is now looking at the centralized payment gateway mechanisms, and very good work going on towards payment regulations, okay? Once those things fall into place, for the businesses that you may plan to do in the future, having an access to an open API, you can sit here and you can think about a boundless possibility of what business you want to do in. What is the line of business you want to do? Payment will not be a problem. Banking will not be a problem. That's where we need to get into. And fortunately, the regulatory landscape in the Nepalese context is moving in that direction, okay? The other essential element, if you want to look at financing at a click or financial services, is the security elements is paramount. Security, one, is for the user, and of course, the security of the system. And that's why I go back into, with regards to system security, these elements of the power of the cryptography that is offered by blockchain, and the shared element of authorization of a transaction is too powerful. Of course, the central bank will also have to accept those elements. So this is an essential component that you need to have when you're looking into financing at a click. Finally, of course, regulatory landscape is something that you need to look at and which is essential. As an entrepreneur, I don't like regulations. And I don't mean to say it in a negative way. I think we are over-regulated because in Nepal, in our context, sometimes the regulations look too much at the process and not at the result. My view about regulation is the regulator should be watching us and not be bothered about the process as long as the basic parameters are met about, especially with regards to financial systems. Yeah? Because without that, you will not be able to have innovation. Because it's in the processes that innovation happen. Okay, everybody, the receiver, the sender, both have to be identified, met. The risk of the agent has to be met by the bank, met. How that happens in between should be none of the regulator's business. That's my view about regulation, okay? So just very briefly, okay? Very briefly, I just wanted to tell you about certain things utilizing the points that I used before to you, we did during the earthquake through my company called Hello Paisa. During the earthquake and in 1.5 years' time, with the cash relief took place, we disbursed over $35 million using the mobile channel. This was over 450 transactions, 450,000 transactions. We have serviced about 250,000 beneficiaries in over 110 VDCs all over Nepal. And this amount does not even include or have anything to do with the Nepalese government relief. This is purely grant relief from multilateral agencies, bilateral agencies, okay? One picture to show you if we can go cashless. This is about 4-5 kilometers outside of Barpak. This person is using a mobile. And these are beneficiaries of the village who are getting their seeds by a relief agency. And they are being paid. This voucher belongs to this customer. This voucher is being encashed over mobile. No cash was involved. Okay, so if you want to see, if you want and you seriously want to go cashless, you can. Okay? This is another innovation that we did in Nepal. This is a purely 100% cardless cash, currently only available within the Hello Paisa system and operating in Civil Bank and Lakshmi Bank ATMs. You don't need a card to withdraw money from their ATMs. So, like Ajit mentioned, the future actually looks really, really good once the cloud clears up. And this is not a photoshopped image. And fortunately or unfortunately, anybody with wealth is tagged with Switzerland. So this is actually a view from a hotel in Switzerland, okay? And, well, you make money, then you could have a bank account in Switzerland, a legal account. I'm not saying an illegal account. You can have a legal account in Switzerland, and you can enjoy the view. Thank you.